No, no record.
All right. It is 6:30. I'd like to call the meeting of the city council to order. Clerk, would you call the roll?
Pickler, here. Cruz, here. Mahaffey,
Here.
Schlegel,
Here.
Zeidman,
Yes, here.
Travell,
Here.
West,
Here.
Brookner.
Here.
All right, stand and say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible,
With liberty and justice for all.
I'm not familiar at all.
Is there anyone here who intends to record this meeting?
I do.
Okay. We have two people signed up for public comment. Mr. Thixton. You signed for public comment. Do you have anything to say?
Right now?
Yeah, sorry, now's the time for public comment.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I signed up for public comment because if you look on the facts of the intersection improvement plan, speaking of the one address that is occupied at the intersection, that would be me. So a few things that I want to address. I know that the needs of many will outweigh the needs of the few. But if you don't speak up, then what can I do? So just a couple of concerns for me with the idea of removing the traffic signal at Genesee and 30, as well as possibly shutting down that section of Genesee. Currently, that is where I park, because my entrance to my apartment is the door that is right there, the first one off of 30. I do have an 8-year-old son, so that kind of adds to the issue for me. So right now it's very easy. If I go to groceries, if I have to take my laundry because I have to go to the laundromat, I've got easy access to the building. I do have the ability to park along the eastern side of the building. There's a spot there that I can park. I'll get into that in a second. Some of my concerns with this possible closure. So number one is just the ease of access for me. And if that gets taken away, well, okay. But it's the safety side of it for me that I'm concerned about. If you know, from the edge of my building to Route 30, all you have is a very narrow sidewalk. If I'm trying to manage my 8-year-old son who has ADHD while I'm carrying 12 grocery bags repeatedly, as there's no longer a stoplight and there's semi trucks barreling through it. They all drive exactly 30 miles an hour, right? Nobody speeds through town. So, as they're barreling through like that, that scares me as a dad. The second part of that would be, like I said, where I can park. The times that I've had to use that place to park have been harrowing, to say the least. Whether it's a snow emergency or this one situations where the section of Genesee closes for like an evening festival or whatever. If I try to back into that space so that I can easily pull out when I leave, might usually nearly get rear-ended, regardless of using turn signals or whatever, it doesn't matter. If I pull directly into that space and then back out onto 30 blindly, the only thing that's ever worked for me is if I look into the glass, the old Wells Fargo, and wait until I can tell that light turn red. Then I'm like, okay, now I can kind of safely back up. And I go very slowly, and it's risky. But if we take that light out, there goes that. To me, it's just an accident waiting to happen. So if that is the decision that is made, if that's the route that you go, at least want to make my voice heard so that something is thought of possibly for myself or for whoever lives there after me. There is another apartment that people do park In that stretch 4 is technically for the building that is connected to Main Street. But people do access that second apartment too. So there are a few residents that make use of this. Just want to bring that up. And make you aware potentially of some safety issues for that, so. Well,
Thank you. Mike Silver.
Just remember, Mike, you only get 5 minutes.
I love my notes at home, so I am Mike Selberg, I'm the pastor at the Presbyterian Church, so I am representing the church today. And I sent you all an email last week, so I don't need to expand much more on that. Just showing that we really would like to have something done at the corner. There's a lot of options. We recognize that there's no perfect solution, but minimally there's a lot that needs done at that corner. So we really ask that the city move forward, knowing that people in town are all over the place on this and not everyone has the correct information. I appreciate what you had to say because we don't necessarily think of people living there and the other corners being vacant right now. So anyway, just want to support you to continue the conversation and to see that there's something that can be done. The other part that I didn't put in the email that I forgot about is we had talked about when we did the beautification, as I call it, along Genesee back in 2015-16. We stopped at that corner, didn't do anything along Lincoln Way because we knew that eventually the state would probably come and rip it all up. So why would we spend tens of thousands of dollars for the new sidewalk and everything else and landscaping? So if this was done and if it did include a sidewalk with a curb along Lincoln Way, then we are interested in going ahead and beautifying that area that is our property along Lincoln Way. And then I was just driving by it. I was up at the dog park and coming back and looking at the intersection. I just invite you to, if you haven't, as a pedestrian, come to that corner and try to find where the crosswalk is across Genesee on the north side. It's a fun game. I like to ask people that. So give that a shot. And just if you haven't looked lately, just come and take a look. Thank you.
All right, thank you. City officers, department heads and committee heads. Oh yeah, turn that off. Yeah, we're getting a lot of feedback. Sorry about that. Chief, do you have a report?
Sir, the only thing right now that I ran into a little bit of a hiccup is, fortunately, I'm losing 2 police officers. I had 2 police officers submit their 2-week notice, so I will be looking to fill positions ASAP.
Can we ask how we lost him?
Sorry,
Are we allowed to ask how we lost him?
I'm okay with telling you. So one officer decided he wanted to, well, actually both of them decided they wanted to join different departments. I think they wanted to change. I'm not really sure. They haven't really given a full reason. They just decided that they wanted to choose. One is leaving to the Rockland County, to Whiteside County Sheriff's Department, and the other one is leaving to Carroll County Sheriff's Department.
Can we ask who they are?
Officer Emmett Shepard and TJ Spencer.
Seems to me Shepherd has done this before, you know, a little bit, right?
Spencer.
Or Spencer.
Was it Spencer that was?
Not
leaving?
Shepherd, yeah, Spencer.
Yes, so Officer Spencer was going to leave to the Carroll County Sheriff's Department. And if you recall, after the Whiteside County Fair, he changed his mind, decided he was going to stay. And now he changed his mind again, and now he is going to take a position at Carroll County.
Did both of these people live in the city limits?
Yes,
Shepherd has a payback.
yes, sir. He's under contract, so he'll be.
Is that a full in pay when we
Yeah, because we sent him to the academy, right?
leave it
It's that
75%?
effect with that, put in the contract. 75%. Paid for.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
So the new department will pay that?
I don't know whether them or it falls on him.
Okay.
Brian, do you have?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I only have one quick comment to make, only because she's here. And, I just wanted to, because I'm kind of excited about it, introduce you to Callie Bush Hamstra. If you don't already know her, she's our new chamber, executive director.
Right.
And so she's here because of some things on the consent agenda, but since she's here, she doesn't like public speak, so I'm not gonna put her to that, but, we're pretty excited to have her, so we look forward to working with her in that capacity.
All right, the consent agenda has 6 items: minutes, bills payable, historic preservation, meeting minutes, and the closure request and parade request from the chamber, and the parade permit for the homecoming parade. Is there a motion, or first of all, does anybody want to pull any item from the consent agenda?
Well, on the minutes, I do have one, I think it's correct.
Yeah, if there's a correction, we can do that and then roll it into the consent agenda.
So do that now.
Yeah, what is your,
It has to do with the police chief. It says dropping the request for a Morrison police escort outside of the city limits. I don't think you meant outside of the city limits, you meant inside of the city limits. You didn't want an escort to escort them inside of the city limits, right?
No, the motion was not to do the escort. That they have their
Not
approval
to do
route.
a period,
Yeah, we
right?
didn't, yeah.
Yeah, well, that ain't what it says.
Period.
so remove the words outside of city limits, just stop at police escort,
Yeah,
okay.
that's the way I remembered it. I don't,
I think everybody's nodding their head.
Yeah.
Or virtually nodding their head. I would also suggest the City of Morrison website update. That's on the 3rd line, right there in the middle of the page. Okay. I think then if there is a motion to approve the consent agenda with those 2 changes to the minutes, that would be appropriate, unless there's still in items 2 through 6, anybody wants to pull.
So moved. Second.
All right, is there any further discussion on those items?
one question on one of the bills.
Okay? Let's have that now, and if you get your question answered, we
I
can
may
do it,
be
otherwise we can pull it.
misinformed. Why are we making payments to the April House? I thought that was the county's organization.
The city pays an annual fee. It's kind of a membership / support donation to the Child Advocacy Center. As part of a, it's not even an agreement, but a networking, setup between all countywide law enforcement agencies and the CAC. We've been paying that for many years,
So this is one-time fee.
and 1 annual fee.
So once a year for $1,000.
We just cut them a check for 500 here, not 3 or 4 months ago. That was for $500.
I don't remember that.
I don't have a specific date, but I know for sure that we did. I'll get the specific date.
I could find out for sure.
I'm sure. Are we the only city that contributes to this?
No, everybody does. Including the county.
So everybody in Whiteside County City? Or just,
To my knowledge, every municipality and including the county itself contributes to April House. Money well spent, in my opinion.
Yeah.
not biased at all either.
I know it doesn't mean anything, but I don't recall it being $500 to April.
I'll get the date. I'm facts. 100% positive.
What would that be? What would that be? Why would they just cut a $500 check? I don't know.
Well,
We'll clarify
if we
it.
don't have it, let's, yeah,
We'll clarify it. We'll do the right thing. That's for sure.
are you okay with going ahead with the vote and pending clarification from the city?
Yes.
If that's all right, then let's go ahead. Is there any further discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, since there is money involved, you do need to call the vote.
Tickler,
Yes.
Cruz, Mahaffey,
Yes,
Schlegel,
Yes.
Seidemann,
Yes.
Travell,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Brookner,
Yes.
motion carries.
All right. For action, memorandum of understanding with the capital improvement program from Blackhawk Hills Regional Council. Your page is 15 to 17. Brian, would you give a little bit of background on what that does for us?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this is essentially just the memorandum of understanding to commit ourselves to the grant program for the capital improvement program. That's the grant funding that we have been awarded through the Blackhawk Hills Regional Council, that pays for basically all the computer software set up to do this program.
So we agree to these terms to get the grant and we get software that helps us do capital improvement plan.
Right, to kind of further enhance our capital planning.
Is there a motion to approve that memorandum?
So moved. Second.
Is there any further discussion, questions on the terms of this memorandum? There's not a financial component to this motion, so a voice vote is in order. All those in favor?
Aye.
I,
Any opposed? Okay, so by voice vote, it's unanimous. The next item is an audio video system for this room and for our meetings. And then those estimates start on your page 18. City Administrator Melton, we have a couple of comments related to that.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've been working on this project for some time. This was something I was hoping the council would get to consider someday, and that day is today, hopefully, to basically enhance the experience of the council meetings. The equipment can be used for other meetings, other public meetings, but essentially sets up an audio video system in this room. It replaces our audio system that we have troubles with. It adds audio to it and makes a permanent solution for our live streaming of public meetings, these meetings. It involves, as you see, most of the cost is all the electronic components, which includes, interesting enough, a 98-inch smart TV that will go on the one wall, and it just simply improve our abilities to reach out to the community during these meetings and to present to you guys as well during the meetings. It's a significant cost. It was difficult to at least find someone that was willing and interested in providing this service to us. I've been working with this vendor since March, trying to get something set up. And this is what I have been presented with for your consideration.
So this is gonna be the permanent city council room from here on then?
Why, I mean, this would be set up to be. Till further notice,
It's gonna be kind of a permanent installation in this room.
yeah, it'll be a permanent installation. Not to say it can't be removed and moved to a different facility. Because it's just equipment with wires ran and a TV mounted and speakers mounted, so.
What I want to point out is we're not gonna pay sales tax on this.
Right, that's why if you notice on the agenda, the amount is only $17,351.69.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
Okay.
My question, I
But-
have a question / concern. I would actually like to know how often this room is rented to the public. Cause if you, I mean. Where's this like TV and speakers and things gonna be? Are they at risk of
The
damage
TV
or do we have liability if? You know, this is being rented out and it,
Yeah, people are responsible for the condition of the room as they leave it. Everything except the permanently mounted portions of the system will be removed and secured. But the TV, of course, would be left on the wall. So there would be yeah, we have insurance and those people maybe will have to up the deposit. But people running the room would be responsible for it.
We have a second room behind this room back there that stuff like that can be stored in, right?
Yeah, actually, we moved all the community stuff out of this one and all that is back there now, and this is nothing but
Oh,
council stuff now,
okay.
so. Yeah, still very accessible to those that have regular things here for their meetings.
Something that I had thrown out to Brian, I'd consider moving council chambers out to one of the new buildings that we're purchasing. There's one room that's quite adequate. Make that a permanent council room out there, and then make this a community room. Like other towns, Clinton, Sterling, stuff, they have community rooms in their community where they have activities for adults, you know, like pool tables, they have playing tables that cards can be played. I mean, this room, I don't think gets rented enough or used enough. I just would like to see maybe a permanent city council. One of those buildings out there. One of the areas has excess of 30 feet in length and 20 feet in width plus. Have to spend a little money, but we're buying the building at a reasonable cost. I think make some improvements to one side of it would not be all bad.
I really like the central location of this room.
Well, that, we're getting a little bit off topic and in fact, we should have a motion to approve this, to get it onto the floor for further discussion.
Have we tried Clinton? What's the name of the company?
Yes, I did, I called them,
They've been
they do audio.
can I, since we're going off topic, I have a quick question. Does this company also, because I think I've mentioned it before, and I think rather than killing a tree every time we have a council meeting, that it might behoove us to get quotes for electronic devices to distribute the packets on. So does this company also do that? Maybe we could cut us a deal if we're gonna do multiple things with them. Just
We
asking.
could probably get that from that set up through our regular computer support.
Mhm.
That already does all of our computers. So, yes,
Wanna throw
thank you, great idea.
Well, just by the way, you know, trees are replanted and harvested and saving.
It's an expression,
Saving
yeah.
a tree now is.
Just
Saving
We
a
do
tree
not have a
now-
motion on the floor, I hate to
Simple,
be
but-
the gas, but let's do this, okay. All right, there's a motion to approve the contract from Sands Sales Tax as noted. For the audio video in this room, and should we desire to move on to the further, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Is there any further discussion on this particular?
this setup that we're doing, is it possible to move it on to another site?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, but
Just wires.
Then are we gonna have to then pay twice? for
Wires with wires.
installation?
Yeah, you'd have to pay.
There'd be some labor, yeah. Any further discussion? All right, clerk, would you call the roll?
Pickler,
Yes.
Cruz. Yes. Mahaffey,
Yes,
Schlegel,
Yes.
Zeideman,
yes,
Gravel,
Yes.
West.
Yeah.
Brookner.
No.
Motion carries.
Item 4, we are going to pull at this time. The specs for the grids that were presented, excuse me, are not quite correct, so we will fix that and present that at the next meeting. Item 5, professional services from Willett Hoffman. Starting on your page 26 for the contemplated close that loop at Maple and Elm. The city can do the labor, but we do have to have the engineering done so that the state and various authorities will approve it. And that is. At a cost not to exceed $6,000 at the bottom of page 26. Is there a motion to approve?
we'll move.
Second.
Any further discussions or questions? Hearing none, would you call the roll?
Tickler,
Yes.
Cruz. Yes. Mahaffey,
yes,
Schlegel,
Yes.
Zeideman,
Yes,
Gravel,
Yes.
West.
Yeah.
Brookner.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Right. Next proposal for professional services from Fair Graham. This is the engineering study that complements the work that we received the grant for. And that starts on your page 31. All right. And again, at the bottom of page 32, you see the fee estimate of $219,000. There's a motion to approve in a second, we can get it on the floor for discussion.
So move.
Second.
All right. Are there questions about the work to be done? This is the, again, so engineering and other studies required. We have the money to actually do the work, but we need to have the engineering done in order to get that. It's lining, right? Lining the sewers, yes, in order to get that work done.
do we have the money to pay that? Is it budgeted?
The portion that will be paid yet this fiscal year, is, which is $32,500. We had budgeted $30,000 for engineering. And so the remainder of this, because the project will fall into the next fiscal year, we will then budget it, we will budget for it then in the sewer fund for next year. And yes, we have the money.
But the 150,000 is not a guarantee, is that the way I look at it? It says time and material estimate. So that tells me maybe this 219,100 is not.
Well, Noah Carmichael is here from Fair Graham. If he would like to address that, I'd be happy to let you.
Well, thank you. If you don't mind, I'll step up here. That's our best case estimate based on the previously completed lining projects that we have. We're highly confident that that number will be at or below that number. That's how we came up with that. And that's all the construction related services. Once the bids are received and the contractor is selected, there's a fair amount of work in reviewing sewer tapes, selecting the right pipes to line, working with, the city and identifying which manholes and providing the very best project for the city, best bang for its buck to reduce the inflow and infiltration going to the wastewater.
Excited, so.
Like the lining sewer mains, you got it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any further questions, more discussion on this? If not, clerk, would you please call the roll?
Ziegler,
Yes.
Cruz. Yes. Mahaffey,
Yes,
Schlegel,
Yes.
Zeidema,
Yes.
Chagall,
Yes.
West.
Yes.
Brookner.
Yes.
Motion carries.
They're an attachment, so. Those bids were just opened, is that correct? I'm sorry. Yes.
Apologize, I should have passed these out before the meeting. There's no clarity as to that.
I don't know, I can't separate it. Yeah, there are.
No, they're in stone.
Oh, yeah.
For a little.
Yeah. Tee it up.
Okay. I'll introduce this to you. Apologize for not getting this out before the meeting. This is the bid summary and projected award for the work to be done on the fire hydrant and storm inlet replacement project that you approved a few meetings ago. We had budgeted a total of $200,000 to do this project. The low bid with Porter Brothers Construction came in at $222,670.10. This is for 6 hydrants and 14 inlets throughout our community. And it's projected to be completed yet this fiscal year, which is ending April 30th of 2024. And the additional 11%-ish that is over what we budgeted for would come out equally from those two funds we had budgeted this in. I'm not really too concerned about that overage. We should be in pretty good shape otherwise.
So the fire hydrant fund is being paid for by what?
Fire hydrant fund is being budgeted out of the water fund.
Out of the water fund. And all the others out of the sewer fund, right?
Well, the other side, we had initially, and that's up for conversation, we initially budgeted it for out of the 1% sales tax road improvements. But this city or this council could decide to take at least a portion of that from the sewer fund as well, because it's directly related to storm sewer. Either way, we have the funding. It takes care of a lot of issues throughout our community.
How much was our engineering cost on this?
We paid that, or we,
Yeah,
We've already
I
did
know
that,
we paid that.
I believe it's up to 15,000.
or more, I thought it was more than that.
15 or
Wasn't there
16,000.
Yeah,
Two
more than
different numbers.
I can't, you guys have a better memory than I.
No, I don't.
We've had Porter Brothers before. right?
Yeah,
No, I don't think.
They've done, they've done it before.
All right, it would be in order to, put a motion to approve this, so we can have further discussion on the floor.
Second.
So further discussion, questions?
Well, it's not a question about doing this project, this is a question that I think both of these things should be done in-house, one at a time. When they happen. At one time we did that, I know. We have done it. Not as expensive that way.
And we continue to do that. This is just kind of. We've fallen behind with other
Yeah.
projects and everything, just staffing issues and, that's the objective of this project is getting us up to a manageable,
I understand,
situation. Yeah,
but we have had Alvarado do some of them and we've had Martin. Construction do some.
sure.
The city has done. The storm sewer in front of my house. Been a few years, and it did take me a couple of years to get them to do it.
And a few more are getting done in the street project as well, so we should be in pretty good shape after. After some of these projects get done.
I understand.
So the big gap in the bids, do we know anything about? Between, I mean, it's all the same work.
I don't, it's all the same,
all that.
all the same scope of work.
It's all labor dollars. Equipment and all that.
Probably we wanted to do it yet this year.
Yeah.
And we were just speculating that the movement of equipment and stuff is just cost some of these companies more to locate than others. I'm not sure. That's just speculation, so.
The Martins didn't even bid on it, did they?
No,
No, they probably got plenty of work.
I thought Fisher maybe would be a little cheaper since they're gonna be spending a lot of time in force in the next 2 years, so.
But this wants to be done now, right? Or it has to be done.
Yeah, we want this done by the end of this fiscal year, by April. We hope they get a lot of it done this fall yet, but they have till the end of this fiscal year to get.
Okay.
We'll call the question.
Yeah, no further comments, questions? All right, clerk, would you call the roll?
Pickler. Yes. Cruz. Yes. Mahaffey.
yes,
Schlegel.
Yes.
Zeidemann.
Yeah,
Rivera.
yes.
West.
Yes.
Brookner.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, starting on your page 41 is a revision to a pay request, which we've already approved, and the change is in the amount of $52,000, et cetera. We approved pay request number 1 of 325, I think, and then there wasn't an error made by the contractor, engineer, excuse me, in the amount of 52,000 in that change. So they are asking for that additional money.
pretty big year.
They didn't update the unit costs from the budgetary worksheet to the actual project worksheet. And those unit costs
But
brought
Brian,
it up to that amount of $52,000.
but Brian, this isn't like a change order or anything. We're gonna spend this money anyway. It's just a question of when we're spending, right?
Yeah, it was just an accounting error, if you will. It doesn't change
It
the
doesn't change
change
the
order or
overall
anything. Doesn't change the scope of the project or anything.
Right.
It's just clerically, if that's a word, he forgot to update the unit costs. And so he's just revising it to make it correct.
Seems to me there was some controversy about paying it the first time.
That was a change order.
Well, that's in here right now. Part of this.
They're running payment in full. Second half of this.
I don't believe it's. No,
Balance due payment. And that all matches up.
for that part of, for that pay request. Two different pay requests in there.
Yeah, I know, but that's what I'm saying.
So basically, had he not made the error, he would have, our last meeting, our pay request would have been the 379,000.
Right.
And we probably would have approved it, so
Bingo,
Just a matter of when.
it's, yeah.
yes.
So is there a motion to approve the revised? Okay, is there a second?
I'm sorry, who's it first?
Well, this is strictly for the revised request number one. Are there any further questions or comments on that? If not, clerk, would you call the roll?
Hickler, yes. Cruz. Yes. Mahaffey,
Yes,
Schlegel,
Yes.
Zeidemann,
Yeah,
Chevelle,
Yes.
West.
Yep.
Brookner.
Yes.
Motion carried.
And then pay request number two, which is new, begins on your page 44. That is in the amount of 345,504.78. Is there a motion to approve?
so move.
second,
Are there any questions or comments, discussion?
Is this finished price?
No,
No. So how much of a balance are we expecting? Do we know?
there's still a significant amount out there, I believe, this is a $1.2 million project, so. A little over half, halfway through it, I believe, I don't have the exact amount here. Because we don't have a change order, change orders usually pretty clear on that, so. But keep in mind, he has a substantial completion date of October 8th, so. So we're a month away from, less than a month away from substantial completion, so.
So what happens after October 8th?
He has until December. Fisher has until December 12th, I believe, for completion of the project, because they still have 3 water loops to do in town as well. But those are more boring type projects. One's up in your neighborhood. So they have work to do yet.
What about, are we fixing the roads once we're done on 78? I know the sidewalks are not, but. We're getting emails and stuff.
We have to, yes, we have to restore the surface of the road.
That will be done this year.
That'll be done with this project. And I would
that's all
say yes,
that-
by December, they will have to pave over those areas they dug up out of the street. To only turn around and dig it up next year.
But that is already bid into this.
That's already in the project.
Any further questions or discussion? Would you call the roll, please?
Pickler,
Yes.
Bruce.
Yeah.
Mahaffey,
Yes,
Slagle,
Yes.
Zinema,
Yeah.
Ravel,
Yes.
West.
Yes.
Bruckner.
Yes.
Okay. With the advice of the city attorney, he suggested to turn study session on the intersection of Lincoln Way and Genesee Street. I did prepare a few remarks, so if it sounds like I'm reading them to you, that's because I am. This is not an action item, but a discussion item, and here's how I'd like to go through it. I assume you have at a minimum paged through the PowerPoint presentation. I don't want to go through it bullet point by bullet point at this time. I do think the lights have been there probably since the late 1970s, not the late 1960s. I believe the last maintenance date of 1985 is correct, although I didn't live in town at that time, so I'm taking that on faith. Two things I want you to look at closely. The costs on page 69 of two options and the flow chart on page 70. Everything else in that presentation, you have thought yourself or has been brought up to you or has been discussed formally or informally in the weeks coming up to this meeting. What I'd like to do right now is have each alderperson take a few minutes. Keep it to under 5, please, uninterrupted. So you will have the floor without interruption and just give your opinion. At the end of that exercise, I'd like to hear from the chief and the city administrator regarding their opinions of the options that are laid out in the presentation and maybe some options that we haven't articulated. After that, I'd like to have some let it open for discussion and dialogue and some back and forth. And we'll not spend a great deal of time on this. But we're going to spend as much time as council wants to in this open format. And we will not stop it until council is ready by either acclamation or vote to stop this discussion. So to set an example, I'm going to start. I have a voice, I don't have a vote. Except in the case of a tie, and remember, this is not an action item, this is just discussion anyway. But I do need to be crystal clear. I am a ruling elder, I am the treasurer, and I'm the organist at the Presbyterian Church. I spend a lot of time in that building. I'm sick and tired of hearing large and small trucks idling and motorcycles revving at a stoplight that does nothing but impede traffic flow. The church is the only active business or organization on that corner. It will be a long time before Wells Fargo is sold. And if it's sold tomorrow, wouldn't that be a blessing? But as I tell people in town, you know, if I had a nickel for every time the building was sold, I could buy it myself in cash. My grandfather practiced medicine in 1947 in the building on the southeast corner of that intersection. But there is no business in that building, and we have one resident on that street. I'm not speaking about closing the street. My opinion tonight is about removing the traffic light. Waiting for the state to address Route 30, you know, as we would say, is when pigs fly. We are not on their 5-year plan. City Administrator Melton and I have been working really hard with our, we have 2 state representatives because the line goes right down Bay Street. And we have a state senator and they are aware of our concerns. And Brian has been over to the district office in Dixon. So we are working really hard on a relationship with IDOT, but that's a long-term play. I think once a year, the daycare kids cross the highway, they go to the Cherry Street crossing. Another concern was about the school buses that come up Genesee Street to go to north side. They can easily be going up Cherry, come over to Genesee and get back up to the north side. So my opinion is, I would like to see that traffic light removed. I'm not expressing opinion on closing the block. But regardless of the traffic light, there is curb that is needed on the north side of Lincoln Way, running east of the intersection. So, I mean, even today, we had less than an inch of rain and what I call Lake Presbyterian form. Every time we get a fraction of an inch of rain. And the church is on record, to spend money to clean up the drive and the entrance to that small parking lot, which is basically the playground for the daycare center. But they're not going to spend that money until there's curb and drainage to ensure that that puddle doesn't form anymore. So those are my opinions. I would like to go clockwise around the council. Would you rather I go counterclockwise?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
That's fine, thanks much.
And just take a few minutes, uninterrupted, express your views.
Talking to that.
Well, thank you so much. My opinion after hearing the feedback from all the residents and looking at everything is, I understand the pros and cons of this, proposal. I do think that we need to be very careful about making it about the city of Morrison and not simply the Presbyterian Church. Because that is the feedback from the community. Although my personal opinion is that it is a landmark, and as a city, we have some responsibility to help preserve that landmark, okay? That being said, people on both sides of the fence point out very good issues. I do have concerns about thoroughfares and access and walkways, as well as drivability. I think closing off a street that comes in off Route 30 degrades the opportunity to encourage more businesses in our downtown corridor. I also believe that we need to think a little further about this, as Genesee Street is one of 4 viable railroad crossings within the city limits. And if we close down access on that street from Route 30, it's just going to increase at the other crossings, just make it more clearly inconvenient for a lot of the residents. So my concerns are, you know, hey, when I grew up, having a stoplight was an asset. It was like big town stuff, you know, if you had a stoplight, you were into something. And I'm having a hard time negotiating that in my mind of why we would remove something that's as a town, you know, helps. I don't want to say put us on the map because I don't want to sound like Yahoo, but why we would remove that. And I would love to see the general public, I think we should all encourage them for is kind of up in arms as they've gotten about this proposal. I would be hopeful that they would be also taking it to the state, so they always remember where Morrison is, and this is a huge drainage issue. And just keep encouraging people to go, you know, keeping this on the state's radar, because does Springfield remember where Morrison is? Probably not, unless we remind them. I just think I'd like to see other plans also, I think, before we completely close down an entire block that leads into our downtown corridor. That's my opinion.
Thank you.
I think Mayor, you pretty much said everything I wanted to say. It's a matter of traffic flow, commuters and the interstate commerce that goes down 30. It seems to be always getting short shrift. I think there's an awful lot of waste going on at that intersection. Like you said, trucks and cars sitting there waiting for somebody to turn left and so on, thundering along and having to stop. That's how many lights. that they have to stop at as they come through town. I'm sure everybody has noticed how many trucks come through here. Also, the issue of the church, I think it's unfair to say that this is all about Presbyterians. You know, back in the day when all the churches were full, you know, people know the Presbyterian church, they're so powerful, they can make anything happen. Well, not so much the case anymore, but you know, the sidewalk there, if that was my sidewalk or something on my property, I simply would not be able to tolerate it. And also the drainage between the two storm drains there, one on the corner and one to the east, it goes uphill and then downhill. And so it collects over here, but it doesn't get all the way back to that one to drain, and it can't get to this one. It used to be worse, but the sidewalk is part of the problem, like the corner was. And I think if the church and the city can cooperate on this to fix that sidewalk, put in that curb, and fashion some kind of water system that will get that water into the storm drain, that's what has to be done. Because everybody who comes through this town, they come by the church and they look at that front of the church and they just are shocked and horrified at how bad it looks. It makes the whole town look bad.
Okay. The north and south route. I will not use. The Route 30 route, I hate. I won't use that word. Time I use that. The light is red and there is nobody around that wants to go north or south. It is obsolete, it is pathetic. And this 167,000 to put in new signals back in 2015 is obsolete. It will cost 2 to 3 times that. And the city is going to end up having to redo those lights if we don't take them down. And if we take them down, it looks like we almost need to close block 200. Yes, I don't like to put people out of their house, but this person will not live there all his life. I hope not. Anyway, and probably if we do something drastic, that will maybe force him to leave, which I don't like either. But you know, progress is progress. My thing is we need to take the lights out. Whatever we have to do after that, I'm not sure, but if we have to close block 200, I am for it. I don't know what else I got to say, but this 4,500 for the sidewalk curbs and catch basin improvement. To me, that's low, but I don't know. We just got that estimate not too long ago, so it should be pretty accurate. So I guess you all know where I stand.
This is like can of worms for me. I mean, the entire intersection seems to be a problem, not just the stop lights, the water, the street, Highway 30, we all know. So for me, when I look at this, anytime the state's involved, we know it's gonna be a big project to do anything on a state road. I understand the Presbyterian Church, I'm not a member there, but I appreciate them being in church. The fixing the curb and the sidewalk alone, I don't know if it's gonna correct all of the water issues, only because the street may not be engineered correctly. We could do all that and still end up with a lake. I do agree, you know, trying to do something there so it's as bad, but as soon as we touch that intersection, 2 drains there, yeah. Yeah, there's 2 drains.
Well, put in another one. where the water sets.
Still don't know if that's gonna drain everything properly, but, that's a good idea. However. However, the stoplight to me, yeah, they're old. I'm still trying to gather more information on, you know, in my mind on all the options. I didn't realize we were gonna speak tonight, or else I would have prepared something better. But, yeah, they're old, they're gonna fall over eventually, but I'm more concerned of if we touch any of that intersection before the state wants us to, or their state approval, they're just gonna shove stuff down our throat like they have in the past on our recent projects, and that's my biggest concern.
Looking over the options that we have in front of us. I guess the easiest thing for me to do would say I would support 5, reconstruction of sidewalks, curbing, storm drainage, and remove traffic signals. I think that the water drainage and sidewalk improvement is absolutely needed. But I also think because of safety, that we should find a way of maybe putting a pedestrian signal in at that intersection. Whether we have to close off the 200 block or not, I think having a signal there that could stop traffic in case pedestrians were there and wanted to push the button. I think that would be best case scenario, whether that's probably realistic scenario, I don't know. But the intersection needs attention, that's for sure.
Well, I guess my opinion is that obviously we need to do something with the intersection. That's first and foremost, like everybody's saying before. To me, like Harvey said, removing the stoplight, when I saw that price from 2015, you know, it's gonna definitely be higher with it being that long ago. So to me, it makes the most sense to remove the signals. With that being said, to me, doing the one way south on that 200 block. In my opinion, you know, the school buses, they've expressed concern about that route. You know, like Mayor said, they could go up Cherry, turn left on 30. Since that's one way going north, there's not like there's gonna be any cars there, so they can make that nice wide turn. To me, it won't affect their time getting to north side any different than having to stop at Main Street stoplight and then move on to the stoplight and sit there forever. So to me, if we do remove them, then it makes the most sense and most appealing to the downtown district is to close that off. I do understand the safety issue with that. If, you know, residents still living there with a child, it would be nice to figure out how we would close it off so that it would be safer for somebody living there. But also by removing that stoplight, I have also seen where you're on Bay Street wanting to go on to 30 and that Genesee Street stoplight gets backed up to where it's a safety concern of either wanting to turn left or go across Route 30. So, you know, if that stoplight is removed, hopefully that eliminates that backup all the way to Bay Street. And I guess my comment with the tracks, you know, I'm coming from Sterling every day going south to where I do see a lot of traffic at the Route 78 tracks. But usually what I do, just because to avoid that, is I'll go down Main Street and then take a left to get across the tracks, where I feel like people going across the 78 tracks is more through traffic, where a lot of people that live in town, you know, are like me and go down Main Street and hit them at Genesee. It does make me frustrated when I could have crossed at 78, then I get to Genesee and a train comes, but that's my own fault. So I guess to recap, basically I'm in favor of replacing or removing the signals. But I would like to hear more from the public. I was kind of hoping that there'd be more people here. There's a lot of people against it, but to me, from what I've heard, I don't think they have all the facts straight. And so they think that, you know, we're gonna turn it into a grass park or just close it completely and rip up all the concrete or whatever. So, you know, I think
the facts just need to be put out there so that people understand, because I guarantee 5 pages of the petition, those people that have all the facts, they were just like, oh, they're gonna close it, and then they signed it. So I guess that's all I got.
Okay, I'm basically in favor of removing the stoplights for sure, letting the traffic go 30. One alternative I would suggest is, like was mentioned, possibly putting up a pedestrian crosswalk for the time being. Repair the road by the church and that area as best we can, putting curbing and stuff in. But let's see what the traffic, leave the 2 roads open, possibly right turn only when coming from the south. To get onto the highway, right turn only from coming from the north. Coming down Genesee, maybe that eliminates some cross traffic trying to get across. You know, but let's kind of see, let's get the preliminary work done, get the stoplight out of there. And perhaps put stop signs only, but then like I say, with right turn only. Coming from the south, right turn only coming from the north. And then let's see, maybe the state will kind of step up a little bit, saying we're making some initiative to do something. But I don't think we need to close it right away. Let's just see what happens if we take that stoplight out of there, and let's see, maybe the problem will lessen themselves.
I think, first and foremost, we do need to fix the intersection. I think that is important. And I don't know about waiting for the state to come in and do it. It needs work, it needs to be fixed, and so I'm all for that. In terms of the light, I have yet to hear one person tell me that it's a good idea to remove that light. Educators, business owners, we're up to over 7 pages of signatures now, saying that they don't want that light removed. Now, Matt, I know what you're saying, that not everybody has all the information, but we also shouldn't assume that people don't know what's going on and make a decision that's contrary to the will of people trying to tell us what they want. And so, I agree with Harvey, it's problematic and that it's expensive. I don't like that part of it, I'm not quite sure how we're gonna fund it. But I think if we put a stop sign in there, it becomes more dangerous than if it was a light. Because if it's a light, you got a free crossing. If it's a stop sign, you're winging it. And I know people go back and forth to drop their kids off there. A lot of people have told me that. Like I said a couple weeks ago, as far as my understanding, this is a very, very unpopular decision if we take this light out. And I know we're elected to make these tough decisions, but I think we should also be listening to the people. I haven't heard one person say out of all of us that they've heard anybody tell them that this is a positive move, taking this light out. Maybe they have, but nobody mentioned it. But I've heard a lot of people saying, don't do it. And we got 7 pages of signatures saying don't do it, and we ignore that at our own peril. One final thing, in terms of a pedestrian mall, those are cool and all, but if you look at these pictures, they're all surrounded by businesses that are actually open. And it feeds itself. Go in and get a coffee, an ice cream, a sandwich. Those 4 buildings have very few occupancies outside of the resident upstairs in one of them. I don't know if this is the block to build a pedestrian mall around. And we haven't even talked about the cost that would entail. I know that's secondary with this, but man, it would take a lot of money to make that nice. And then you gotta convince businesses to move in there without any parking. And Mayor, I slightly disagree with the Wells Fargo thing. I don't know, maybe online's wrong, but it says contingent, and maybe it's not going through. But it hasn't been for sale forever. And if we make a detriment to for another business opening there, that's gonna cost us a lot of tax revenue if somebody does open it up. So I think we keep the light and we fix the intersection. And damn it, it's expensive, but we gotta try and find the money, that's my opinion.
Yeah, and Chief.
As far as like the sidewalk, I'm not gonna comment really much about that. Everybody's already kind of in agreement, it needs to be repaired. As far as the traffic light, I would say I do understand both sides, keeping it or removing it, but looking from a safety position, I do think maybe just if we did remove it, it would increase traffic flow a lot easier. I do see many times when I'm out there working in the morning and the afternoon when traffic is heavy, people are coming and going from work. It does back up due to that light, and I do see adults and children crossing that on foot and on their bicycles. I've always had a concern about that. Sometimes when they can't see, they're sneaking across and running through, whereas if traffic was flowing through, you'd have larger gaps when they cross. And unfortunately, they're crossing a lot of times at Bay Street where I see it. They're not going down and using the light where they could. They had the option to do it, but unfortunately, they're not doing it. So that always concerns me when I see that. I actually had a conversation with a couple kids not too long ago about being careful about crossing over there because of a lot of the traffic that was going through. And like I said, sometimes it backs up. Even I've experienced trying to get out with the flow, with the backup of traffic. And if that light was not there, then of course that traffic would flow and make it a lot easier to get to and from in and out of that area of Basin 30. So that's basically what my opinion on that is. If we did move it, it would increase the traffic flow and possibly even reducing the chances for vehicle accidents. When people were constantly having to stop right there at the light and the traffic starting to back up, sometimes people aren't paying attention and unfortunately an accident can happen, and they do.
Change here.
Okay,
I'll just say a few comments. I, of course, have a lot to say because I prepared the PowerPoint. But I will just touch on a couple points. First and foremost, traffic and pedestrian safety is, of course, I would hope, our primary goal here with this intersection. We all agree that this intersection is junk every way you look at it. Unless we do more extensive work along Route 30. I don't know that the Wad Lake Presbyterian might become a pond or a puddle, but I think there still might be water there. We're doing other things upstream, so to speak, uphill to hopefully collect some more of that water before it hits Route 30. But until that Route 30 gets reconstructed, I think we're going to have a drainage issue to some extent through that block. To touch on the IDOT issue. Again, yes, traffic and pedestrian safety is always a concern. However, regardless of why those lights were initially put in, today's IDOT office says the only reason why those lights are still there is because of the visibility from traffic coming onto or crossing Route 30. So if the city would like to or decides they want to remove the traffic lights, you will essentially only have two options, and that is traffic flowing away from Route 30, meaning southbound on Cherry would be one way and southbound on Genesee would be one way and northbound on Genesee would be one way. You would not be able to have turn onlys there, right turns or left turns. You will not, IDOT will not approve removing those lights and still having access to Route 30 from Genesee Street. It won't happen. So if that's what you would like, then you really only have two options: replace the traffic lights or leave them alone. I hear a lot in all the meetings I go to is, what can we do different? What can we do different from Morrison? And what can we do to bring more people to Morrison? That's why when I thought of the discussion and the possibility of closing this block, I looked at it as an opportunity for this council to consider. Personally, I like the idea. I think something new, something creative to our downtown may do the opposite. I can sit here as much as anybody else without any bona fide data to say how either way, closing or keeping open that block is going to benefit our community. So I'm indifferent really, but I do like the idea because it's a creative opportunity for us to do something different with our downtown. But that's for you to decide. I like the mayor's approach here. I think we should do this carefully and methodically to make sure we represent our community and we decide what to do with this intersection is in the best interest of our community. But there's a population of 4,065 people in this town, plus all the visitors and those who travel through town. And how many have you heard from? And who are the people you usually hear from? The people that are against something you're doing. You don't normally hear, hey, that's an awesome idea, you should do it, oh, or you're doing a great job. We don't hear that, and that's fine. But I do think some of those people on the petitions were not completely informed in the correct way. I know at least one signature on there that was told that he signed it because he was told that they were going to completely close Genesee Street all the way down, which is ridiculous. And that's what he was told, and that's why he signed it. So that's just one example of the people who signed and oppose it. I know I've heard it too. I've actually heard people say, hey, that's a great idea. Maybe you should do something about that. But it's just an option for the city to consider. I think either way, we have to do some of those traffic lights. I'm not in favor. I will not recommend as your city administrator that we find the money to fund that, because ultimately I believe that's IDOT's responsibility and I think they should do it. Anything we do, I hope we spend $50,000 and the IDOT decides to come through next year and decide to tear it all up. If that's what it takes to get them to pay attention again to Morrison, let's spend the money. But either way, we have to do something with that intersection because it's junk. And that there's just no better way to describe that intersection. There's nothing good about that intersection. I'm sorry, except for the church on the corner. I got it in there. And I think we all agree with that. I just think we have to look at our opportunities, and that's why closing the street was brought to your attention. It's an opportunity to consider. Maybe we won't do it. Maybe we won't do anything with the intersection. Whatever you guys decide to do. But I love, believe it or not, I love that we've stirred our community once again and got them a little interested in maybe what we're doing around here. So if that takes a little negativity, I have thick skin and theoretically broad shoulders. I'll take the heat. But I am always working in best interest of this community, and I'm going to bring those opportunities to you and let you guys decide. So
I want to thank you all for your measured comments. This went exactly as I imagined. We get everything out on the table. Everybody knows where everybody stands. We have time if you want to have an open discussion, or if you want to move on, it's up to the council. By acclamation, do you want to continue talking or do you want to move on?
I would like to say a little.
Sure.
I have talked to a number of people who said that those lights should be removed, but I didn't take their names down. And I didn't do a petition, and I didn't go somewhere and say, I have a petition in favor of taking those lights out, will you sign it? Or anything like that. But there are a lot of people, as you have said, who say we've got to do something about that intersection. Actually, the whole road. They want the whole road fixed. Well, we're not going to be able to do that. And like I said, another thing too is that here we have all these chairs, and there's supposedly all these people that are adamantly against doing anything, and they don't even want to take the time to come down here and sit in a chair and listen to this meeting. So how can I take that seriously? I mean,
as opposed to what we absolutely have to do.
But to that logic, you don't have any people that are for it either.
No, because they don't come out and advocate for things. Well, apparently those that are against it, they don't do it either. So it's up to us. Now, if you look here, how do you explain that there's 7 people who are generally in favor of doing something with that, including taking the lights out, whatever might be the case, and maybe one has been reserved? We're representative of the community, and it's 7.
Wait, are you talking about me as being the one?
Well,
I said I think that we should do something about the intersection,
Yeah.
absolutely.
okay, so you.
So I was talking about the
So,
lights.
Can I ask you a question? I hate to interrupt, gentlemen, but here's my disconnect, and maybe some of you have the same one, I don't know, and maybe the community has the same one. How did drainage issues and fixing drainage issues turn into removing a stoplight? That's a big disconnect for me, and I tried to explain it to people in a positive manner, but they know that I don't know, right? So.
Okay, so I'll start. Your point is well taken. They are 2 different issues, whether there's a traffic light there or not. The drainage is terrible.
And everyone agrees with that.
Okay,
But how did that turn into, how did it go from addressing the drainage to stop because listen, the way the water pools, that's a safety issue too, right?
right.
So how did it turn from addressing the drainage issues that exist on that stretch of highway to removing a stoplight and closing a street? I'm having that, just the
Okay,
disconnect.
so
I can answer that question. I've been on this council 10 years, and removing those stoplights has come up several times during those 10 years.
But you're right, no, and it's fair, and if somebody asks you that question, say, they are 2 different issues. We are addressing the intersection. One thing, regardless of drainage, there is a discussion about removing the traffic light. And then the second thing is, well, if we're gonna remove the traffic light, shouldn't we really work on the intersection anyway? And the third thing is, if we don't remove the traffic light, shouldn't we work on the drainage anyway? Yeah, so there's separate issues, and that's fair to say. But if we're gonna look at the intersection, why not look at it all? So the intersection includes drainage, curb,
Right.
etc. And the light, so we look at it all. But yes, they are completely different issues.
Anytime you have that type of project, it always becomes bigger than the initial idea anyway. I mean, you start, there's still somebody's phrase spitballing on a project. And yeah, looking at the entirety of that intersection and all the problems there. So when we start talking about one thing, that kind of just surfaces everything about that intersection into the conversation, and it just kind of develops that way.
So I think it'd be a really good idea to get that out, have a public forum meeting to specifically for that, okay? Because, the other comment I hear from people is, why did we just redo that length of street? Why did we spend the money on it if we're gonna close it? And that's a fair question, right? So it goes along with just my personal opinion is, I generally and genuinely would love to see this council and this city have a plan moving forward so we can start to do things methodically rather than what appears to be haphazard and show the citizens a plan moving forward. that
Okay,
we're gonna-
So I'm gonna say, that's why we had this study session right now.
Right,
And then action items will come one at a time. Okay, and then there will be one per meeting going forward. So one action item, light, no light.
Mhm.
And then, of course, that's why I like that flow chart. Because that tells you what you have to do next. And again, light, no light. Then, bid out what we have of curb drainage. So, but we're gonna do one action at a time. And this was exactly what was recommended to me, and it worked out exactly as I wanted it to get this out there, and then to show that we are going to address this, boom, boom, boom. And you will see that in coming agendas.
I don't have the petition with me, and maybe you know this, Josh. Was that petition just for closure of Genesee, or was it closure and removing the lights? I thought it was just the closure of Genesee. I don't remember it putting the lights on. But I couldn't find that, so do you know that, John?
That's a good point. People from out of town that are signing that petition.
No, I'm asking, does anybody know that? I guess.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so
Maybe.
you know, to Sadana's comment, this whole intersection is a big ball of wax, you know, and so what I've been telling people is, hey, it's the whole intersection is an issue, and there's a bunch of items that flow together, so it's all gonna be one after another and after another, depending what we all decide to do. So what I've been telling people is, it's a big project, we're just starting to talk about it. We have to do something with it to some degree, you know, I don't know
Right.
by what degree, and then that kind of pacifies people, say, okay, I understand, because we don't know without state's approval what we can even do or cannot do. Before they give us the blessing, or nope, you can't do that, then we change our direction, so.
No, and I get it, and I tell people too, like, well, removal of the lights would stop the hard idling on the street, which impacts the road and causes more drainage issues.
Yeah.
But I guess,
But
you know, like to maybe explain the disconnect, and I guess I'm no construction engineer, but if they were to come in and do all the drainage work, they would in theory have to pull those stoplights out, right? I mean, to where they're not gonna just take 1950 stoplights and set them off to the side and then put the exact same ones back in. So, you know, in my mind, when that disconnect of like, oh, we're doing the drainage part, well, as part of that, we have the option of putting new stoplights back in when they can finish the drainage, or just removing them altogether. So I guess that, I mean, in my mind, unless I'm wrong, that's how I kind of connect the two of the drainage and then the stoplight part, so.
I think they are connected, and besides, just referring back to the comment that those stoplights are junk. That you can tell them that, why do you wanna take those stoplights off? Because they're junk. And then you have to decide, are you gonna leave them out, or are you gonna get new ones in there, or what are you gonna do? They have to come out at the same time as the curb is put in.
How are they junk?
What?
How are they?
Have you been down there to look at them?
I mean, like how they look or how they work?
Both.
So they don't work?
Well, I don't
The
know,
lights don't
I don't
work?
know how well they work, I didn't sit there, but there are times when I'm coming up there. And there is nobody on Genesee whatsoever, and before I get there, the stoplights come on.
Well, yeah. I don't
No
think it's a-
pedestrian,
Not a motion.
there's no.
It's all trying to get it back.
Yeah, well, they'll build
That's why they hold
for no reason.
Yeah.
And I'm not, I mean, they look horrific, but,
The bases
someone that
of-
uses it, they work at it.
The bases are crumbled away.
Do we have had to repair the stoplight mechanism through the years that we know of, and the cost associated with that?
From time to time, we've had it, our electrical, service in there for repairing those.
Is it frequent, like every few years, or is it?
It's probably probably almost annually we have them there fixing some little
Right,
quirk.
okay.
And, it's obsolete equipment. They keep warning us, you know, we'll try and fix it, we'll do what we can with it, but, you know, you get that, these are obsolete.
Yeah.
And if you, eventually, if you need a new part, or whatever part that might be in that control panel from 1985,
Yeah.
you gotta go to some salvage yard and be hopeful.
And the city.
If I recall the last time,
Not
yes.
the state,
Oh,
correct?
yes.
But we could, so, like someone mentioned, we could take this in steps of like, if us as a council say, yep, we're gonna fix it and we're gonna remove the lights. Then before we do anything with closing, it's obviously gotta then be the one way each direction, but then
Yeah.
more discussion could happen, more community involvement to see, okay, do we wanna take it a step further? Like, it's not gonna just be all packaged together and say,
Right.
you gotta pick one of these options.
Yeah, cause that is it would, in my opinion, not be safe to be going north from Main Street and try to turn, because that's a very blind corner.
And that's why they
Extra sports.
require a light.
Yeah,
because
you can't,
it's fine.
it's very
And
blind.
that's what I want to clarify, what I've been saying too, because to me, if it's a stop sign, and I don't know the IDOT, it's more dangerous than a light.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
Okay, so to me, it's like, and maybe there is a scenario where it still is a thoroughfare, limited, but the light's gone. But to me, if we're just doing a stop sign, to me, that's more dangerous for pedestrians and for cars.
We've been told in no uncertain terms, if you remove that light. Traffic on Genesee Street has to go away from the highway.
Mhm.
Otherwise, IDOT will not sign off on that. So a stop sign is not an option.
And I wanted, some, I can't remember if it was Sedana or somebody said, we did just spend a ton of money in our downtown. We do not, it is taking away the left turn to go to our downtown. We don't advertise, I know we're limited kind of with 30, but man, we don't brag. We're a National Historic Register. And no, I've had people tell me, wait, 30 isn't your downtown? I'm like, no, it's a block over. You know, I mean, we don't direct anybody into our downtown. There's no effort, there's no signs, there's no advertisements. And then you're taking another, a possibility to take a left turn and be like, God, this is pretty nice here. I once had somebody drive down and stop me and say, man, we've never been here before. This is awesome down here. That's the person that never been here, but Morrison was on their map because they went downtown, you know, so. And maybe this isn't the solution, maybe it's sidewalk or whatnot, but man, we have a nice downtown, we just spent millions on, we don't direct anybody to it.
But if you have a pedestrian wall and they drive by, then they go, whoop, I gotta check that out.
that might be true, yeah.
Put a sign
And then they turn the next block, and then do the one way, and yeah.
Yeah, yeah, so those are all things, and this came up actually over a year ago at MEDC. Signage pointing to downtown. We've got one little sign, you are exactly right, you know, and is that a chamber thing, is that an MEDC thing? Is that a council thing? That's something for us
Council.
to think about. All right,
I mean, I think, I just thought, asking Brian this, I said, I'm with Josh, we don't direct anybody downtown. Signs on the highway,
okay,
I wanna make downtown much more appealing, we spent, I don't know how many millions of dollars, and it just looks like a concrete street, right? So I have some ideas on. Send to Brian, but I'm with Josh, signage, that's can defeats the purpose, but. As far as the Genesee, I don't think, you know, one way there or not, it's gonna make it too big of a difference, but.
I do like what Pat said, though, they see that and like, oh, you know, I personally, I had not thought of that. Yeah,
If you build it.
they will come.
there's the general feeling that's a city issue, then let's take away the signage, take that now and see what we can do.
I'm gonna put out a plug for the Morrison Historical Society.
Yes.
You know, we have a sign there and we have people lived in Morrison for, I will say 100 years, but not 100 years. And they come there once and said, oh, I never knew we had
Yeah.
something like this in Morrison.
Right.
You know, it's, and Main Street is the same thing, you know.
Is your mill open yet?
Sure, I'm there just about every day.
Get
If
a
you
sign
come,
up
I'll
there.
give you a.
No,
tour.
get a sign out there, don't stop in, Harvey.
Well, I just can't hardly imagine that there's a lot of people in this area that don't know where the downtown of Morrison is.
Yeah.
And if we're talking about an occasional person that comes from Galena through town or somewhere else and they don't find the downtown, well, okay, that could happen, but hundreds of cars and trucks go through here, they know where the downtown is.
But signage is something we can take as a city.
So the last question I have we contacted the state for this intersection
Yes,
as far as them approving? If we remove it, if we, whatever work we're doing, have they said, yes, that's okay?
they
to
said
do?
yes, if you supply the drawing and we have the drawing. But that was the, like I said, in no uncertain terms. It has to be one way away from the highway.
Correct, okay.
But they are on board. We have one friend in IDOT. We're trying to make more. So
IDOT's big, Mayor.
When's he gonna retire?
Right?
yeah, he seemed like a young guy, so
Okay.
no, but seriously.
Right.
I finally got that answer, and that answer is pushing 2 years old now. so,
Okay.
But yes. Well, once again, I want to thank you for open minds. I'm sorry, go, keep
I
going.
just want to say I appreciate it. It gives me, a better understanding to speak. Give feedback back when I'm getting the feedback. from them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so I thought maybe we do an hour on this and we're pushing 50 minutes, 45 minutes. So this was really good. Yes, okay.
Yeah, I love technology. I'm just responding to an issue earlier tonight under the consent agenda. And as luck would have it, the executive director of April House sent me a message and said, we have not paid anything to April House since our last year's annual dues. So we have not. So we've taken care of that. So
I wanna make note, Vern said he was 100% positive. I wanna make note that.
That's only 3 months ago. It was only 3 months ago.
And you
4
tell
months
her
ago.
she's wrong.
One of the ladies. can-
You're not gonna tell her, right?
Okay, I've gone through the whole stack. It was not last 3 months.
Huh?
And everything for this fiscal
I
year.
didn't say it last
was
2 months,
not
I'm
in
just
this
saying
fiscal
we
year.
made $500 payment.
Okay.
Nothing, just.
We can check that in City Hall. That's a no-brainer.
I'll find it.
By acclamation, it has the
See that in the morning.
I got.
is the council satisfied with this discussion and shall we move on?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, once again, my sincere thanks to all 8 of you for this open, honest, and cordial discussion. And now, we need a motion to move into executive session. I would need a motion to move into executive session. Any opposed? Okay, to declare we're in executive session at 8:06. we're out of executive session and at 8:20 we are back in public meeting. At this time, it would be appropriate for a motion to approve ordinance number 2310 regarding the purchase of real estate.
Second.
All right, is there any further discussion? We have the ordinance before you, you have the contract as well. We have the plat in a very small drawing and a very large drawing on the table. Yeah.
Nobody's out there.
Anybody out there?
They all read.
All right. Hearing
Sure
no,
you did.
Sure I did.
hearing no further discussion, clerk, would you call the roll?
Schindler,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Mahaffey,
Yes,
Schlegel,
Yes.
Zeidemann,
Yes.
Travell,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Brookner,
Yes.
motion carries.
All right, well done, gentlemen. Thank you. And a motion to adjourn is in order.
Sure.
Sure.
I.
Super.
Formal.
Is anybody opposed to adjourn? If not, we have adjourned. 8:21.
Does anybody for any purpose want a copy of the new plat?
Frame it and put it in the building.
Oh, I have plenty of copies, so.
Yeah, we got one. Big copy.
Yeah, you're gonna go.
I do. So if you wanna take that one.
I just wanna tell you, I like that study.
Yeah.
That's what I kind of crave.
Yeah.